Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I step off the train and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, friends. It's a lovely day here in suburban Chicago. The sun is out and the temperature is warm, but not, it's not warm actually. I'd say it's high 30s. I'm wearing my hat and my winter mittens and I'm comfy, but not overly warm. I'm walking home from the train and I thought I would talk with you a little bit today about a couple games I've played recently. That's right. It's an espresso triple shot. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know. All right. We're going to cut all this junk out. So today I thought I would talk to you about 3 different games that I played recently and one game I revisited from a while ago. To start with, at my college board game club a couple weeks ago, I broke out and got to try the game Snake Oil. Now, Snake Oil is a game I had heard about quite a few times. In fact, I have talked about it confidently on this show despite having not played it. And then I encountered a number of different games in similar genre. And finally, I came across a copy of Snake Oil for myself at a Goodwill, and I picked it up for $2 or $3. And it's a great choice for a party game focused group, which the College Board Game Club tends to be more party game focused than I would choose if I were deciding which games we're playing. But, you guys play what the group wants to play, right? And as an Omni gamer, I certainly enjoy party games, and I have a good time playing them when they turn up. I've had fun playing those, and I had fun playing Snake Oil. Snake Oil is in the judge category of party games, meaning that it's a game where everybody does the thing, and then there's a person whose job it is to pick the winner. I think the most classic version of this would be Apples to Apples. In Apples to Apples, the judge plays a category card, and all the other players play a card to contribute to that category, and the judge picks the best answer from that category. This is, of course, the exact same mechanism used by Cards Against Humanity and any number of other games where there's one person who's picking a thing. Now, as a subset of this, and I would actually say my preferred subset of the judge category, is the pitch style game. So a pitch style game is like the judge category we've spoken about, except it has an additional element in which you're not only picking your answer from the element in the game, you're also then trying to persuade the judge of the value of your answer. So games like Apples to Apples often don't include that aspect of it. In fact, often they have rules that specifically tell you not to do that sort of thing, because the whole idea is that the judge should not know which player submitted which answer. Instead, with a pitch style game, you often aren't submitting the answers into an anonymous stack at all. Instead, you take turns going around and saying what your answer is and then pitching it. I spoke about Super Fight a little while ago. That is a sort of alternate version of a pitch style game where 2 players pitch and the rest of the players vote. In Snake Oil, it's relatively simple. The player who's the judge draws 2 cards and puts them together to get they draw 2 cards or 1 card, and they look at both sides, and they get to pick their category of person. And it could be something like, I believe one of the ones that I did was California Girl, for example, or Caveman, or Yuppie, or Doctor, or whatever, right? There's all sorts of different categories of a person. And the idea is that everybody else is putting together a product to pitch for that consumer. And the cards are all a variety of different nouns and adjectives that can be combined in a variety of ways, usually to give you some sort of funny sounding object, which you then explain how it works and why to the judge. And the goal is to get, the best example. Sometimes you'll get ones that match really well. I think when we had somebody as the caveman, one of the combinations someone came up with was cave blanket. And of course that one won because of its perfect symmetry with the category, but there are lots of others as well. Snake Oil is not all that deep. It does depend on a certain level of creative participation by the players. So if you have particularly shy group or a group of players who don't know each other very well and aren't likely to want to spin tales, snake oil might not be the best one. But being able to kind of say what you want the story to be and pitch it out works really well. That's snake oil. Next up, I have a dexterity game. My design partner Rob had a copy of this that he loaned to me. He thought my son would like it, and sure enough, my son did like it. We played several games of it and had a good time before we gave it back. This is Beasts of Balance. Beasts of Balance is a dexterity stacking game with a really cool look and a neat technological gizmo. In the box, you get I don't know what shape it is. Imagine a cone with the top chopped off, so you have a flat bottom and a flat top and slanted sides. It's maybe as tall as it is wide, or just a little bit less tall than it is wide. And the game comes with several, I'm gonna say maybe a dozen, animal objects that are done in this kind of semi-cubist style. I mean, they're 3D sculpture animals. They're like toys, kind of, in different shapes that resemble different kinds of animals. And the look it reminds me a little bit of the visual style of animals from indigenous artists of the Pacific Northwest, like the Seattle area. If you think about how whales and eagles and stuff are drawn in or sculpted in art from that region, that is similar in look and feel to these animals, although I don't think these animals are specifically designed to evoke that. They just resemble it, I guess, somewhat, to my view. Anyway, in the game, you take turns stacking these animals onto this 3D barrier, or this 3D base, and it's got a little sensor at the beginning. So at the beginning of the round, you hover the animal, you touch the animal to the front of the beginning of your turn, you touch the animal to the front of the base, and then there's an app that you use. The app indicates, okay, this animal's connected, or this animal's being placed on, and then you have a certain amount of time to place the animal onto the base. Then the base can sense how much weight is on the base, and then the next person takes their turn. And there's a certain element regarding like the weight of the different animals, and you want to kind of always have more or bigger animals be getting placed onto the base. So as it goes along, it gets bigger. But ultimately, the different scoring mechanisms aside, it's a stacking game with weirdly shaped items. Not all that dissimilar from something like Junk Art, which was a very popular game a few years ago, or even Animal Upon Animal. The big difference is the gimmick of the 3D base and the RFID chips that allow for it to use digital scoring and that sort of thing. All in all, it's a neat gizmo. We had fun playing with it. We played a few times. That was probably enough for me, and my son said he was fine if we didn't keep it, so I returned it. But it's a neat game, especially if you have a kid who really likes that sort of thing, or you yourself really like stacking games. I imagine it fits well into a collection of those. That's Beasts of Balance. All right, in my revisit this week, I got to try Martin Wallace's Wildlands. Wildlands is, of course, Martin Wallace's squad tactical skirmish game. I think it's a really interesting game. It's pretty fun. The game is relatively simple to play, which means that you can play it fast, but it's got some really interesting tactics. The big or most interesting part is the idea that at the beginning of the game, you have a certain number of units in your command, usually 5 if you're using one of the 4 base game units, and then you get dealt these 10 location cards that match up with the locations on the board. Then you pick 5 of the locations to be the spots where your units are going to appear when they appear on the board, and you pick 5 of the units to be spots where 5 of the spots where your opponent's gold gems are going to be appearing. So each team has these gems of their color that they're trying to recover, and then you win the game by killing enemy units and by recovering those gems. And when you kill a unit, you take it and put it in front of you. When you recover a gem, you take it and put it in front of you. If at any point you have 5 things in front of you, units or gems or combination, you win. It's pretty simple, but it's an interesting system with neat mechanisms and fun characters. So my son and I played that. I think we played, did we just play one or I can't remember if we played 3. I think we just played 1 game, but it was fun. And I was reminded how I like the models a lot, and I'm interested in getting those painted at some point. So they've definitely gone onto the list. That's Wildlands from Martin Wallace and Osprey Games. All right, the last game I want to talk about is one I played only in digital form, but I feel like I got the hang of it pretty well. This is My Shelfie, which is a new Phil Walker Harding. Oh, is it Phil Walker Harding or Matthew Dunstan? It might be Phil Walker Harding and Matthew Dunstan. I'm gonna have to look. You can look. It's on Board Game Arena, and it's essentially grown-up Connect 4. In the game, you get a plastic tray that looks similar to, although it's smaller than, the disc holder from Connect 4. In this game, it's a tile holder, but it's still the sort of same thing. It's a 5x5 grid, I think. And what you're trying to do is, and then the game comes with a whole bunch of different colored tiles. On your turn, you're going to draft a couple tiles using some sort of basic rules about which tiles you can take and how many you can take. And then you drop them. You have to pick one column of your tray holder and drop them in. And it sort of looks like when you drop the tiles in, it looks like you're populating a 5x5 Kallax. And then, of course, each person has individual scoring goals, and there's shared scoring goals that involve different arrangements of those tiles in colors and shapes. And then, of course, once you've drafted some, then your opponent drafts some. So the competition comes in taking the things that you want, blocking your opponents from getting the things they want, and drafting in a way that limits their choices as best you can, while sort of racing to get the stuff that you want from your display. I played 2 games of it. It was a good time. It definitely falls into the category of I'll play it if somebody else wants to. I'm not particularly compelled to go back to it, and I'm certainly not going to buy it. It was an amusing diversion and certainly would be a fun one. Might be a good one to get somebody into gaming who hasn't played a lot, because there's interesting choices and really neat table presence with the little plastic grids. So that's My Shelfie, available on Board Game Arena if you'd like to give it a try. Well, that's about it for me today. Thanks for joining me on my walk. I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye. So today I thought, my friend Rob, my design partner Rob.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.